Welcome to another episode of Pivot Series Season 2. I still get excited about saying that because we have a lot more to share. And as you know, in this season, we are speaking with our pivot pioneers. Now, these are women in their respective business fields who definitely have some skin in the game. They put their footprint on what they have been able to achieve. Now, I know when we think of business, we think of product, we think of service, we think of very corporate things. Do we think about charities as being a business? Well, today we're going to get the opportunity to have a chat with Shamelle Rice of Jabez House. How are you, Shamelle?
I am doing good, Gil. I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation with you, man.
And we are very excited about having this conversation with you.
Good.
The name Jabez House has been floating around now, at least in my sphere, for quite some time. Perhaps you can share with our viewers what, first of all, Jabez House means,
right,
and what is its ultimate purpose.
Okay, awesome. So just to kind of give some origins. So the name Jabez really is a name that comes from a book I read when I was a teenager, from this book called The Prayer of Jabez. And it's really about this Bible character, this young man whose life was not the most exciting, and persons pretty much believed that he was going to amount to nothing. And he said this very simple prayer to God, asking God, just to do something amazing in my life, that people, like, whatever they're expecting, that something different can come of it. And I read that book as a teenager, and because of just how I had grown up, just being really poor, my family was very dysfunctional, all this stuff, like, it really spoke to me. And I said, I want to be a person that, people may not expect anything good to come of my life, but I really want that something different can happen, that God could do something, different in my life. And coming out of that then, and the impact that book had on my life, I said, I want to devote my life then to helping others, to serving others, and specifically women. And I just always said no, because of the impact that book made on me and the name, and I understood what it had all meant. I just knew that I was going to someday have this organization, and that would have been the name, so that whatever persons may expect, well, nothing good can come of you, you're a nobody, you're nothing, like, transformation is possible, all things are possible, and there can be impact significantly. So that's really the origin of Jabez House. And we work only with female sex workers. So our program is really centered on providing access to alternative economic empowerment opportunities for women who find themselves in sex work and desire to transition from the trade. So we pretty much work on facilitating that process for them.
Now, before we get into why you chose specifically female sex workers, let's go back a little bit, because your description was, I grew up poor in a dysfunctional family.
Yeah.
Usually people under 40, because she's under 40. People under 40, you don't really hear things like growing up poor. You think of that as a generational thing. Now, when you say poor, do you mean just poor in comparison to others, or like no matter how you slice it,
right,
there was a lack of sufficient available to you?
Yeah. Well, I don't mean poor. I mean, we were definitely poor compared to others, but I do mean like poor. So my mom was a young single parent. She would have had my brothers and us all by the time she was, I think, about 22 or so. And we lived in a very small one-room house, no electricity, no running water. We had a pit toilet outside. Many days you would go hungry, like always just wearing hand-me-downs, somebody's walking barefoot. I'm not talking about, I just didn't have what I prefer to eat today. I'm really talking about
it wasn't like it was the latest pair of shoes.
No.
And I didn't mean to be clear, to highlight it, but you often spoken about it openly. And I just wanted people to understand that you, having come from a situation where things were not as readily available to you as one would have thought, especially in this generation Barbados.
Definitely.
This generation Barbados, that there are still pockets of people more than we know.
For sure.
Who have grown up exactly like you.
Yeah.
Yet you find yourself in a position where you could have used your education to secure the big corporate jobs, to make sure that you would never have to repeat the proverbial cycle.
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
But what you did instead is you reinvested in that cycle to try to get other people out.
Yeah.
That to me is the amazing part.
Yeah, thank you. And I feel like that's like we all are alive, yes, and we all have gifts and talents, but I feel like being able to impact someone is more important than anything else. I mean, I would love to have a lot of money, you know, like who doesn't want to be able to travel and do a whole bunch of fancy stuff? Like that's good. And I applaud anyone who's pursuing that for sure. But like, there's just something about being able to impact a life. And I don't know if it's, again, because of my own experience and having persons come alongside who saw that I had potential, you know, in the midst of my living situation, in the midst of our poverty, saying, this young woman, there's something about her. She's smart, she's polite, you know, we can work with her. And choosing to make an investment in me, because that's the way I saw it, if that is what was the catalyst and really said, you know, Shamelle, you have to just repay this, that you have to do it for someone else. And
right.
I really feel like that's really where it started. So yeah, it's true. I mean, I could have probably pursued just the traditional type of career, but I just knew that I wanted to give my life to serving others and to helping others and to seeing women especially see their lives empowered and transformed.
Women are a vulnerable group by themselves.
Definitely.
But you have specifically chosen female sex workers. Mm-hmm. Why is that?
Boy, I get that question all the time, right? What would I say? There are groups that persons would be open to working with, to serving. And then there are others that people have just kind of cast off. It's like, I don't want to have anything to do with you. Like, no, you just do not deserve my attention, my time, my nothing. And I felt like when I started doing this work, even although I just knew I always wanted to work with them, I will be honest and say I never thought it would have been this specific group of women, right? Mm-hmm. Like, not at all. But as I was able to get into the community and to begin to connect with these persons and talk to them, I realized like, all you really need is someone just rooting for you. All you need is an opportunity, and something can happen for you. Like, I could not pursue, you know, trying to facilitate that for this group. And you know, as you said earlier, there are persons in Barbados today, you know, that are living in squalor. And I'm not using that word lightly. I'm saying because we're, myself and the team, we're very on the ground with our work. So it's not like just sitting up in some air-conditioned office and dressing pretty. No, we hit the streets. We're on the ground. You get to see how people are living, get to see children. I mean, I've been to some houses, and even as I'm thinking about it, I just feel myself just getting a bit emotional. Like recently, remember last year, I had this client and she was coming out very faithfully to every single class. You know, she was doing well. And, you know, one day at class, she was talking about going home and hoping the bed didn't get wet because of the rain that fall, you know, while we were at class and all kind of, and I'm not understanding. I'm like, what is someone talking about? Because I've seen people living poor, but like it was not registering. Either way, I offered to give her a ride home, which was so like out of my way. But I really felt that day, you know, let me go and check on what she's talking about. And when I saw, I can't even call it a house, when I saw where she was living with two little boys, when I saw the bed that was just eaten out, it was black, the floor, the roof, I tell you, I came home that day, right? And I cried for probably almost 2 hours. I drove very slow on my way home because I knew from the time I got home, I would have to switch right into mommy mode. And I didn't want my daughter, who just turned 4, I didn't want her to be like, mommy, what's wrong? You know, but I took my time, I drove, I stopped, I just cried. I was like, Shamelle, this is, you know, because I'm thinking, but this little boy, you know, he's the same age as my daughter, you know, like, I mean, like, there's no way a child should have to live like this. There's, you know, so there are a lot of people in Barbados who are still living very, I mean, it's rough. So, and they're sometimes off the grid, so you may not find them, or, you know, they're not able to really access certain services, and there's no assistance. And, you know, I feel like if you know about this, there is a responsibility then to, in some way, offer some means of relief. And I just want to put it here, Jabez House, we're not just about welfare and just, I feel sorry for you. We're big on empowerment. So I do not just believe in giving persons handouts, but if I see that you are working at something, if I see that you are committed to developing, to growing, to excellence, well, you know what? I'm right there with you. Like, I am with you. How can we grow? How can we do this? How can your life be all that you were created to be? And that's what we do. We just try to come alongside women who are just working at it and try to help them make a difference.
So clearly you don't go on this mass recruitment drive,
No.
But then how do the women find you or find out about you?
Well, we employ just various methods in terms of just getting the word out. So yes, we have clients who are enrolled in our program, so they may tell, a friend, and that way, they can access our services. But also, and a big part of how we engage the community is really just meeting them where they're at. So, we do outreach, middle of the night, whatever it is, where you're at, we engage you there. We share about, what our programs are about. We offer other services. So whether it's, you need to, probably just have someone you need to talk to, you want to get a test done for some reason, or, there are different things that we do as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we just go, our aim is really just to befriend the community. We're not here to judge. We're not here to criticize or condemn. We're here to offer an option, an alternative if you want to. And it's really just a matter of letting persons know, and then they are free to, on their own, whenever they're ready, just come out.
Now, with most businesses or organizations, there's usually a structure that is patterned after an existing structure.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot think of another structure that exists
Right.
like this one. So how did you come up with this model?
Honestly, I don't. Man, that's really something I've been struggling with for a while. When I started Jabez House, it really came out of conversation with the women in the community. This is something that they were saying they wanted. It's like, and like, I just want to be okay. I would like to go back to school. I would like to, and I'm thinking, like, how is someone telling you these things and you're not doing something about it?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, I'm going to start some way, somehow. And, I just said, well, we can offer classes. We can do this. You can, and as I started to research to find out, well, is there something else? Like, I honestly have not found any programs that look like this. I mean, in Africa and India, there are one or two where they are working with a group like this and, providing classes and training.
Right.
But I think generally what I've really come across, there are a lot of groups that focus on sex worker rights and, activism around sex worker rights and, making it legitimate work and
regulating the industry, so to speak.
Right. Yeah. Regulating it, which, there's merit in that. If persons are going to do it, well, you want people to work safely.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say, that's wrong. But something to say, well, this is what we've modeled it after. I really haven't found that. And, I feel that's why it has really been so impactful, because it is the heart of the women. Like, I've heard your heart, we have come just willing to provide this option, this alternative, that you can access, another economic empowerment opportunity.
So as a result, what tools then have you found? Because basically it sounds like they're almost feeding the program and you formalizing it. So
Yes.
I'm giving you what you tell me you need to help transition. So what kind of tools do you employ?
So in terms of tools, our primary the primary tool we would use largely comes down to skills and business training. So, we focus on, what's going on now? All right, women are really into lashes and everybody's wearing a mask now. So, people want their lashes popping. Like, hello.
Yeah.
So we would offer classes then in, eyelash extensions or makeup artistry, soap making, just what is going on. And as you rightly point out, we are always in conversation with the community. It makes no sense designing a program thinking you have figured it out and it's not really serving the beneficiaries.
Right.
So what do you want? What do you think is going to help you most? And how can we look at implementing that? How can we look at trying to facilitate this somehow? And that has always been just our way of doing things from the beginning to now. There is always conversation with our clients. We never roll out a new class, a new program, nothing without first saying, what do you think about this? Or what would you like to see? Any suggestions?
Yeah.
I want to hear from you. So that's really something myself and the team, we are very, very big on, so persons know that I'm seen, I'm heard, and, I have a voice, I have an opinion, I have value that I can still offer.
Where one may not have mattered before.
Definitely.
Now they finally have one.
Definitely.
So you have used terms like team, structure, tools, classes. That sounds super organized, much like a business, but it's a charity.
Yeah.
But how does one run a charity without running it like a business?
I don't know that you're able to do it effectively.
Right.
Like if you want to, so a charity, you're focused, it's not for profit making in terms of monetary value, but it's an investment. This is a social investment, and the returns, you want to see returns in the lives of people. Not only that, when persons come alongside you, persons say, no, I want to, put some money into this program. Like I want to see my money is working for me. It is doing something. And I believe that you have to address it. You have to approach it as you would any other business, and I remember many years ago, probably maybe the first year into doing Jabez House, a friend of mine, we were talking, she said to me, and I've never forgotten, she said to me, Shamelle, I want to tell you something. If you're serious about doing this, right, you have to take this, you have to run this as a professional endeavor. This cannot just be a hobby. It can't just be a side thing. It can't just be, and there was just something about that just resonated with me. And I said, but it's true, like, I can't just be half-hearted about it. And not that I was, but I think she was just really calling me to something even more. So I always have a plan. I'm always thinking, always researching and looking at trends and, so the same things that a business will probably look at doing, how can I reach my customers more? Right. People are spending a lot of time online. I need to be online. Persons are, they live on the social media platforms. So ads and I'm running an ad to say, like buy this product.
Correct.
But I may be running an ad saying, hey, here's a program that you can consider supporting. This is what value you can add, and we can also help you. But so it has to you still have to employ those practices and stuff as you go on.
Tools and techniques,
definitely,
like any other business.
Definitely.
So how long has Jabez House been in existence now?
Since 2012. Not the greatest with math. So that is what, like about 8 years?
Okay, because you're asking
since 2012, right?
So let's call it 9 years. You're on the cusp of your 10th anniversary.
Yes. There you go.
On the cusp of your 10th anniversary.
Yeah.
Are you where you thought you would be, where Jabez House is concerned?
In some ways, yes, and in other ways, no. I think when I first started, I was always about impact. But I think, sometimes we get really caught up in the visual. So having a massive, building and doing all of these things, I feel like that's something I really wanted. And I still want that. I still want that, we have a good, proper center and there's all this happening. But that hasn't fully happened yet. We're okay. We have a place where the ladies come, where we're able to offer our services. That's fantastic. But I feel like I'm happy with the impact so far that we've been able to make. On Sunday, a friend of mine, she's a friend, but she's really a client who would have come through our program, who is now graduated. She's doing well, she's working, doing very, very well. And she had a little bit of a scenario some time back, and I just helped her. I didn't even think anything about it. I just said, she called. I said, oh yeah, we're always here for you, whatever. And she just ended up passing by my house on Sunday. I didn't even know she was coming. And I looked outside, I saw this car, and I saw her getting out, and she's like, just putting some in your mailbox. I was like, what's that? Anyway, I went outside afterwards and it was a thank you card. And she wrote me this note. I mean, and I tell you, no, like I read it, right? And I was like almost like in full tears because I was looking outside at her thinking like she's dressed for work. I mean, she's doing good. Like, I know she's married. She's like, she has like her, like thinking of where she was 3 or 4 years ago to now. I'm like, who would have thought?
Yeah.
And we have so many stories of women who have been able to just move into just different spaces, you know, they're doing well now. And I'm like, that's what this program is about. So even if it isn't this huge, ginormous, you know, whatever, when I'm seeing impact on real lives, when I'm seeing children know, you know, like Auntie Shamelle, you know, me, and like, you know, that is what I feel really it's about, and that I'm happy. I'm so happy with, and yeah, I just feel like that's good. Like that's good. Like so far, what we've been able to do, especially given the community, because it's not like there's so many things you have to be always balancing. You know, you have to make sure you develop trust within the community.
Yes.
So you don't want to seem as if you're someone who's just out there, you just, you know, after just getting a story out, or, you know, and you don't want to sensationalize things. There's confidentiality, there's privacy, there's so many things we have to still balance. But being able to do all of that while still being able to make impact, while still being able to just change, I'm forever grateful for that.
Now, this is going to be one of those questions.
All right, I'm
but
ready.
I must ask, what role do you think gender would have played in a lot of the initial challenges you would have experienced in trying to get Jabez House established?
I don't feel like you can ever get away from the gender narrative, the dynamics. There's always something there. I would say that, you know, for the most part, persons were open to what I was trying to do. I did have some businesses or persons I approached, you know, that were like, oh, that really for me, I ain't about nice, so, or that group of women, you know, and just really just like, I want to have nothing to do with those persons or, you know, those women or, you know, and I feel like there were some individuals initially too who didn't take me as seriously, maybe because they felt like, because I mean, I would have been 25 when I started, right? It's like this young girl talking about, okay. And I honestly feel like we've made a lot of progress. We've done a lot, you know, in terms of seeing women and seeing the value that women can offer. But there are times where I do see that you have to work a little bit harder to be taken a bit more seriously as a woman. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, you know, it's not something that I like to harp about. You know, I just say, you know, hey, if I need to work a little bit harder, well, I'll just have to work a little bit harder. Because like right now, I may not be able to do much about it. But yeah, it's always one of those things that sometimes it pops up, you know, pops up ever so often.
Yeah. And the narrative continues to just develop and transition in unique ways, especially in a business situation. So I do have to ask though, because I find that COVID has just impacted women very, very differently from our male counterparts. How has COVID impacted the way you are able to sustain the business? Right.
Well, I would say persons have generally still been open to, you know, to giving, to donating, to helping. And for that, I'm just really, really grateful, you know. But as an organization, it has caused us to, we've had to do a lot of things differently, you know, which has proven to be a challenge at times because, you know, now with so many things having to be online and stuff, we've had clients who we have only been able to engage on the very basic level. And by basic level, I mean helping you to meet your basic needs, like food and that sort of thing. Because some persons, don't have a proper cell phone or don't have good Wi-Fi, or, they're just not able to be home and dealing with the children who may have school and still plugging into programs properly. And there's just, there's some of that. But, I would still say that I'm grateful for technology because it did allow us to still be able to work and to engage clients and to make sure that women were able to, get the different services they needed in terms of maybe speaking to the counselor or just having a space at times that they could see the others, and know, well, we're all in this together. We're all still plowing through, and we're gonna come out on top. So, and I would also definitely say the pandemic has forced us to be a lot more creative. So like these last 2 months, especially, man, like I've been grinding. Like we're about to roll out so many things, and I feel like if we didn't have the pause, if we didn't have to stop and to to do a lot of reflection, that would not have happened because you're something so busy just in the day-to-day, outing fires and doing this, doing that although you may be planning certain things, sometimes just having to take that step back and say, okay, shoot, well, how can I pivot? How can I do this differently? How can I, how can I still get there, but going this direction? That has definitely come out, during this time, during this time.
Boy, we're gonna look back in a couple of years on this time.
This time.
I know. Do you see yourself developing a Jabez house in other small nations, this general work model?
Oh man, that's my heart.
Yeah.
I would love to do that. Like that's something that I really want to go after. And I'm really about best practice, so I feel like, we got certain things down pat. And especially working through the pandemic, I'm like, okay, let's kind of revisit this, kind of look at this. But I would love to see this happen, like in other places. There are women who come to Barbados, and they're doing sex work. Like, I wouldn't want to have to wait until a woman gets her to try to do some sort of intervention, or we can work with her, when maybe all that woman needed was an opportunity, access to maybe some outlet in her country where she was. That could have made that difference. So, for sure, I would love to see this model replicated like across the Caribbean and even beyond. Yeah, definitely.
It would be remiss of me not to ask how people could get involved, even if they can't donate full time, full services. Donations are still necessary. Sometimes money just goes a lot further than tangible products. Maybe they have a service that says, hey, in this particular class, I can allocate 5 free spots. For how can people be of actual service to Jabez if they so desire?
Well, thank you for asking. For sure, money always goes a long way.
Yes.
Because our services are offered free of cost to the women. So, and we want to always keep it that way. We don't want that a woman is already struggling, she's already working through stuff, and then there's this barrier of I got paid to come to these classes and buy all this stuff. And so all we require from our clients is just to show up and be committed. Like if you're serious, show up and be committed. That is all. So of course, donations really help with that. We always welcome food stuff as well, because especially now and like all last year with just the pandemic and everything happening, persons were really stressed. Children are at home a lot more. The food is moving faster. Persons aren't working. There's just a lot more pressure. And the worst feeling is to be hungry.
Yeah.
Hungry and stressed out. If I'm stressed out, fine. But I mean, there's just something about being hungry that alone brings all stress. You get hungry, you know what I mean? Like, yo, what are you talking about? So we've just always been happy, last year and even this year so far, that we could be meeting those basic needs, making sure, you or your kids don't have to go hungry. So that's a big person can get involved. And as you, alluded to, if you have maybe specialized skills and stuff, sometimes we have different workshops happening. So you may want to say, hey, I can offer, some hours of my time doing this. And, we're happy to look at if it fits with what we're doing and trying to work it out.
And finally, what advice would you give to fellow business owners? Because I consider you a business owner, innovator. What advice would you offer them, especially when they have to deal with the unseen and the unknowns like COVID or just things that are
Yeah.
thrown in your direction that took a weird curve?
I would say bet on yourself. Bet on yourself. And I was having this very conversation this morning with my husband, and I said to him, like sometimes we're not even aware of what we already have on the inside. Like, I believe God has given us everything already deposited in there. And sometimes it's just a matter of sitting down and just taking time to reflect, to just go deep, to not just be moving around, but just take time to reflect. Maybe talk to someone, bounce something off with someone, but you already have it there,
Mm-hmm.
And if you believe in yourself, that makes the world of difference. So that even if things come you did not plan for, those curveballs, whatever it is, because you are confident that you are able to get through it, then you will. So you may fail, but it doesn't mean you stop there, because failure and disappointment, all of that is part of life, and especially part of business. And yes, I do Jabez House, but along the way, we've always just been trying to find ways to sustain ourselves. And it has meant that we've also employed traditional business things. So like recently, up until a year ago, we had a farm where we had like 1,500 hens, we were doing eggs, and, so I know what it is to go through other types of business where you have to work through things. Some things may work better than others. You have to, but it's just a matter of just keeping at it, keep plowing away, know that you got it, and just keep going. Like, believe in you, bet on you, be your own like cheerleader. Sometimes we are always looking for all the external validation, though that is
Right.
good.
Yeah.
Right. Like, if you don't believe in you, if you don't love you, how are you expecting that from somebody else?
Exactly.
And
Who's gonna
even if
love you?
someone is giving that to you, there's always going to be that doubt in your heart. Like, you really think so? You really feel so? Like, no. Like, I'd be like, oh girl, you so awesome. Take, listen to me. You need to do that. So I would tell anyone who is, really just into business, whether it's traditional type, businesses or some social enterprise, like, you got it. And you just need to believe in yourself, bet on you, and just keep going. Just keep going.
I feel like my pom-poms are already in the air for Shamelle. I'm going to tell you now a secret. Here on the Pivot series, your nickname is Saint Shamelle.
Saint Shamelle.
That's right. Saint Shamelle.
What? Okay. Well,
And
thank you.
Saint Shamelle, I've already adored you with your sainthood. I want to thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
not only being available to teach us things that we may not have already known, maybe just reaffirm things that we knew but we needed to hear, but really to put that out in the universe and to uplift and inspire in meaningful, true ways.
Yeah. Thank you again. I appreciate those really kind words. And thank you again for having me. It was really nice just being able to talk about just all of this. And, I'm all for women supporting women and just anything where it's, women's focus and led and empowerment. Yeah, so this has been really good as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And of course, you know that you can follow Jabez House online. Perhaps you can tell us where. Handles?
Yes, on Facebook, on Instagram. You can reach us on WhatsApp, wherever. But all of our information is out there. And that's JABEZ House. And you'll find us just on everywhere. Our website, everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah. And maybe catch up on the story of Jabez, because now I'm curious and I want to be so inspired. Thank you so much for tuning into another Pivot series. This is the Pioneer series, and we hope you are definitely enjoying watching as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you.